our Facebook page for Life Change Institute. Welcome, and I'm so sorry we're late. Sorry we're late getting started. I hate starting late. But I'm Salo Ortiz. I am the Life Change Institute founder, and I'm here with my homeboy, Morrice Apprey, who's out on the West. They say it's the best coast, but I think East Coast is the best coast. We'll argue about that a little bit.
It's all good either way.
We want to make sure that you can hear everything on Facebook. So if you can't, just let us know. But we're just going to talk for an hour, Morrice.
Okay.
He's out in the West, 3-hour time difference. And he just finished with a client. We were setting up over here on the East Coast. We've only done this, Morrice, one other time when we were live streaming on Facebook Live. Every other time I like having somebody in person. I tried to fly you out here.
Next time.
Is that what it is? It's next time? Or
next
you fly
time.
me out there? Which one is it, man?
We can do both. We can take turns.
There you go. We just got to figure out which jet we're using, I guess. So this is just going to be our new time. Trying to test things out. Here's what we want to do. Life Change Lounge is an hour conversation, unscripted, unfiltered. Morrice said nothing's off the table. We welcome live comments, live feedback, live questions, and we will try to capture them all. When we get them, or as we get them, I've got an assistant here that'll just kind of send them to me and share them with me, and we will just kind of try to answer them, Morrice, and we'll just kind of see where the conversation goes. You down for that?
I'm perfectly down. All good. All right,
cool. Good. So here's what we got to see. It's funny. I just found out, somebody just shared, shout out Kelly. Today's the 1-year anniversary of the first Life Change Lounge.
Okay.
Check that out. I didn't even know that, bro.
All right.
That's crazy. Kelly, thank you.
Perfect timing.
Yo, for real. Yo, the 1-year anniversary, we got a great guest. Yo, we got to do this right.
I appreciate you having me, man.
No doubt. So look, you knew that I was inviting you. Let me tell you, these are, before we really get into the Q&A and all that stuff, me and Morrice go back. I got to tell a little something.
Go for it.
Here.
Because if you don't, I'm going to go back anyway.
I know you were going to go back, man. You got probably more work than I don't know what, but I'm scared. I should be worried about the
I was going to ask you, is there anything that's off the table for you?
Nothing off the table, bro. I got to be real.
I'm just teasing. That's all.
So we met in 97. I got to Liberty University. We shared a psychology course together, a bunch of courses. Yo, how do we go from sharing an abnormal psych class to sitting here broadcasting with each other from a small business that I run? You got a business out there on the West, and we're talking about psych issues and life issues. And yo, did you see this in 97 when we was 97, 98 when we was kicking it?
I didn't. And I say this because, when you're going through school and you're thinking about what it is that you want to do, right? There's what you think you might want to do, and there's what you end up doing. And usually, as I tell patients and even think about conversations with my son and others, usually in life, you go from A to B and you think there's going to be this straight line, and you end up going around B to A to C and back to B, And so I can't say that I saw it, but I'm grateful for it. I even went to take my, I was with my family this past weekend going to the aquarium right outside of LA here. And we had these fortune cookies as we were there for the kid's birthday. And it said, you will reconnect with the old friend. And I almost said it to you. I was like, well, this is crazy that this is the week that this is happening. So I did not see it, but I'm thankful for it. And it's just a blessing to be able to see each other's growth. Because, when you're in school, you never know what somebody else is going to turn into. You just, you take the shared experience as it comes along. And then paths kind of go different directions. And so when it's able to come full circle like this and be something meaningful, I think it's that much more special.
Yo, and as you and I were chopping it up, getting ready for this time together, and we were kind of doing the vision planning and all that, bro, this is just the start, right? We started in 97. It's 2022, and this ain't even close to where we're meant to be yet.
Exactly.
So we're still building. That's crazy. So another little tidbit that I want all our viewers to watch. Listen, we're going to post this again on our Life Change Institute YouTube channel. It's going to be shared to all of Morrice's socials and everything. This is my third twin, if I could explain it that way. So check it out. me, and I got a twin sister. Shout out to Genevieve out there in San Francisco, and Maurice all share the same birthday, which is wild.
Yeah, yeah.
You're
For
not
some
my
good
twin brother,
times.
but you're like my little brother. I think I'm the oldest one.
Left for some good times back in the day too, so it's all good.
No, that's
All
crazy.
good.
So I
All
always
good.
got to call you. I'll never forget your birthday. So that's cool.
Oh man, yeah, yeah, it's all good, man. Yeah, we've had some beautiful experiences from then up until now, and I think the beauty of where we've been individually is that we have more obviously to offer as clinicians as we go forward. So we all have stories to tell, you know what I mean? And so to see where we started, maybe before we went through some of those chaos.
No doubt. Listen,
You know?
we used to joke, man, back in the day, because we was like, man, thank God, like social media didn't exist for us back then, because thank God that we're 90s and 80s babies, right?
Yeah.
So Maurice, check it out. Tell people where you're at, what you do, kind of the current, and then we'll get into this back and forth. Tell them where you're at.
Okay, so I'm in Los Angeles. You know, Virginia's home, and it will always be home. But I'm out here in Cali, enjoying the environment here. I'd been working in Charlottesville, Memphis, some different places. But I came out here to work with LA County Department of Mental Health. And in the process of coming out here to work, I've worked in life insurance, I've done some acting, I've done some different things just to make it, you know, just as far as cost of living and all those things. But presently, I'm working as a clinician for Southern California Neuropsychology Group. So we assess brain. So we assess brain and behavior functioning and provide therapy. We're one of the few places that does therapy and assessment. And so coming through doing a psychology and then counseling program at Liberty and those kinds of things, it's been a wonderful experience to be able to do the therapy. I did not see myself doing testing and assessments and stuff, but I had to taste a little bit of it in coming here. But I primarily do therapy, and we get a chance to work with all kinds of people, man, from Google actors to kids on the spectrum of autism, to people going through substance use challenges, to people who are going through divorce, like all kinds of stuff, and that makes it joyful too. And so with all the experiences we've had from college to the experiences I've had and living in different places. LA is such a melting pot, man. I promise you, it's one of the most diverse cities in the country. And so being able to bring some of culture and East Coast experiences and East Coast work ethic, because people out here have a different type of work ethic. It's just
man, it's just a different mentality.
Yeah, it's a different mentality, you know. And so being able to bring that here and also be a person of color and be a clinician.
Bro, so that's huge. Exactly. Yo, that's the crazy thing, right? Is being a person of color, being a man of color who does this work, you know. And I've talked to people many times about this sort of what they call feminized work, and this sort of even if you go into Black and brown communities, you know, this white man's work sort of thing, even. But to be two men of color that are chopping up like this, doing some real clinical, helpful, life-changing work. Yeah,
I mean, and when you have the type of companies that are just in the area, it's not that I seek out any of the types of companies that I mentioned, Netflix and all that. They're just here, right? And so as they're here and people need supports to go to, just being in a general suburban type of area, by default, you're thrown into it. And so you have to function on a level that they're used to, because a lot of them are used to being entitled to having this, that, and the other. But then you also have to bring in a level of professionalism and knowledge that helps them to realize, hey, they're on a Google level, if you will, in the mental health space, right? And so that's been a fun journey, and I've had to grow a lot, you know. And I've also been able to share a lot of the crazy stories that I've been through in the process of building rapport with these people, so they don't say, well, who's this, young Black guy with the tie? It doesn't look like he's really experienced anything either, you know. So it's been quite interesting, man. It's unique. I couldn't have scripted it.
So look, exactly. So look, you gave a great segue, Maurice, because young Black dude with a tie that doesn't seem like he goes through things. And obviously, most of my followers, most of the people that know me and know how I do this work know that I don't necessarily do the work in a traditional way. I'm not the dude in a suit and tie, but there you are doing that. And yet they always assume from the appearance that you have or have not gone through certain things. So that's what I wanted to unpack here, because I know you personally, I know you professionally, I know you're a real dude, and yet you've been through some things. And some of the challenge, maybe possible challenge, Maurice, is that you'll talk about personal things that you may not use in your professional settings, where that's not always the case for me. Some clinicians don't like talking about and revealing certain personal things, but they're going to hear that. They're going to hear that you're
Yeah.
a real dude, right?
Yeah. You have to, because it's all about building rapport and credibility. And I think if a person can't relate to you in some sort of way, you really have to really be real good at seeing what they value. If the person is one of those people that values information, you have to show them on that level that you can function on that level.
Right.
If they value relationships, they don't care about
Right.
how much you know. They want to know, can you relate to them? Right.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so, of course,
you connect.
I'm one of those that's an open book to some extent. And I feel like
Right.
I've gone through enough and processed enough of it to be able to share it that I don't mind. Now, if there were things that I wasn't comfortable with, you know, I would probably use other people's examples to do that, as we're trained to do.
Or just flat out tell them, like, yo, I'm just not there yet. Like, this is a real relationship. And so you're allowed to say, we're allowed to say, like, I'm not going there.
Exactly. And, you know, we don't know everything, you know what I mean? And a lot of times I tell people that I'm working with to say, they'll say something like, you know, you were in my head last week, you know, I was thinking that you'd probably say something. And I would say, hey, look, you know, sometimes I don't know everything, right? But what I can tell you is my best suggestion is to think about things this way, right? Or based on what I've experienced, I typically am aware that things tend to happen, you know, in this manner. And we go from there. But it's a learning experience. And I always tell people, you know, even though I've been through a lot and our experiences aren't always going to be in alignment, the real work is not in the session, it's outside.
Right. The rest of the week. It's the rest of the life outside of that one clinical hour.
Exactly. And so a lot of times they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, we look at getting direction here, but in the end, the growth is going to be when you actually have to apply it out there.
You got to walk it out there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yo, so look, so check it out. All right. So let's get into that. Let's do that, man. We don't know where the conversation is going to go. I promise you. Right. We don't know, but we're going to see where God takes it. We're going to see where we need to have this conversation. 2 scripted questions, one at the top, one at the bottom. Life Change Lounge, send in your questions, your comments to Morrice. Send them into Life Change Institute page, and we're just going to keep moving until we get them. Okay. So the top of the question thing, right? What was your life change moment? You talked a lot, Morrice, about facing a lot of adversity, a lot of challenges that maybe some people out there know or don't know, even some that I know or don't know. But when you look at one that really stands out, and we'll probably touch on a lot of them, but what was the life change moment for you that kind of led to some things really shifting, or maybe a significant shift one way or the other in your life? What do you want to share?
Yeah, well, I've had several, and I would say several at critical points. But I'll start kind of in the middle, right around college age. You know, dating, making life choices, you know, and then all of a sudden, you know, intimate with a girlfriend, find out I'm going to be a dad. Okay. And I was
during college. So let's be real. Like, this is while I know Morrice is a God-fearing Christian, at the same time, he's talking real life.
Yeah. I mean, I was a senior, getting ready towards graduation. I was playing with the Roanoke Wrath, the D3 Pro League soccer team under DC United, and I was feeling good about myself. Right, bro. I remember.
I was with you. I remember. So let's be real. Like, and
the lady I was dating, I'd been dating for this time. It was right at the 3rd year that we'd been dating. And you know, her parents were going through some stuff, and I won't share all of what they were going through because it's not relevant. But there were things that were happening, and in the midst of finding this out, I was like, hell, if I'm gonna be a dad, I might as well party it up. So I got until December 22nd to go ahead and enjoy my single life. So I bought a BMW. No cosigner. I just went and did it.
I remember them days. That's crazy.
You know, I went ahead and put a system in it. I had a CD changer underneath the steering wheel. People were like, dude, you're living it up, right? But nobody knew what was going on in my head, right? And
so hold on, I'm gonna pause you. I have to. I remember sitting in the caf with you, bro. And I remember you telling us, like, she's pregnant. I remember that time. And here's what's crazy about it, Morrice, because you and I have been riding for a minute, right? Like, we've been together for a minute. And you're right. Like, we didn't really fully understand and come to grips with what was going on in your head and in your world of all of that, because we didn't have to face that situation. We didn't have to face those decisions and all those things. And so you're walking through this, and you just said, right? And this is where the story kind of unfolds. But I remember that time, and we just kind of looked at it like, well, damn, Like now what? Because we ain't never had to face that.
Yeah, yeah. And the odd thing was, I knew I was going to graduate. So it wasn't like I was like a high school kid or first or second year in college. I was on the track of what I was supposed to be, kind of doing, if you will. And I've always lived that way. But I always had like these two lives. I always had the life that I was supposed to live.
Right.
And then I was always trying to create the life that I wanted. Right.
Right.
And the life that I wanted was one where I wanted like love, affection.
Right.
I wanted to be a part of things. Right. And so for me, it wasn't about partying. It was about sharing intimate experiences with people, whether that was in dating, whether that was in just fun with roommates or whatever, right? So I've always been close to the people I've been around. So for me, it wasn't about just screwing around. All of a sudden something happened, I mean, truth be told, back then I would joke and I'd be like, man, I should have sued Durex. Because, but the reality was that wasn't the way I was raised to grow up.
Well, so, I mean, but here's the thing, right? So we think that, and we assume like at that age and at that time, I mean, we're young, we was, what, 20? We thought that we were supposed to be one sort of way. We thought that manhood, whatever we define manhood as, or whatever society, whatever we took as manhood, was supposed to talk this way and be a certain way. Bro, let me be real clear with whoever's going to watch this now or in the future. I can guarantee you, and you know our crew like me, and you know our crew. There was no question in our crew that you wasn't going to follow this thing through and take care of your seed. There was no question about that. Like that's the crazy part. Society told us one thing. We could talk a big game or whatever because we're young and dumb. There was never a question in terms of the follow through, the walking out, and we never knew all the twists it would still have. But there was never a question about you from a character standpoint to stand up.
Well, I mean, I'm happy to hear that. But the interesting thing was at that time, because we were graduating, I was right at 22, almost 20. By the time he was born, I was 23. But it was one of those deals where, again, I started my master's program. I was like, I'm gonna keep rolling the ball like I'm supposed to go. But then I remember I was supposed to be driving down to practice for soccer, and I called the front office and I was like, "Tell coach I can't come anymore."
Yeah.
And I literally just quit playing pro soccer like that, right? It was lower level. Everybody was working a job, but it was still like I was on the rise of doing something I was enjoying.
That you loved.
And I had a chance to work for Central Virginia Community Services, mental health, right? And so I had turned down a full-time job to work part-time and play. Now all of a sudden I got a kid on the way, so I was like, "Hey, by the way, can I work full-time?" And they're like, "Sorry, we've already given that away, but you can keep working part-time." And so I was doing personal training. And the big turn, I remember pacing in my apartment, and in my head I was like, okay, I asked to have a strong relationship with her, with my son's mom. I was like, now I got it.
Yeah.
Whether it was the way that it should have happened or not, I was like, now I'm forced to deal with it, right? And I'll never forget.
So the search for intimacy was almost forced because of the circumstances.
Yeah. And so, like the saying goes, be careful what you ask for because you just might get it, right? So I remember calling my parents, trying to figure out what to say to them, right? And then my mom said, "It's okay, son. One of my brothers went through this." And I said, "Really?" She said, "So what would you like to do?" And it was like, in my head, I already knew what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But I hadn't had to voice it to anybody yet.
Yeah.
Right. So telling her, I said, "Well, I want to raise him." She said, "Okay, well, we'll help you." And so she told my dad, and of course, everything happened, right? Lo and behold, her family wasn't in alignment with that. They talked about like they were, and then they said that they weren't. Just things happen, right? And lo and behold, I ended up becoming the first male in the state of Virginia to get custody of an unborn child. And so that.
Well, hold on. I never knew that part. Hold on. Pause.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So Mona Flax, shout out to Mona. She was one who orchestrated this whole process for me on a legal front because of the family dynamics. My family was okay in dealing with it and hers wasn't. And then the later they were, and just they went kind of back and forth. It felt like that anyway to me. And so the family had chosen to give him up to an adoption agency in Lynchburg, Virginia. And I said, no, I'll raise him. But in the state of Virginia, unmarried men don't have rights to the kid. And so,
bro, I'm gonna tell you right now, married men don't. So, but we'll
yeah. I get it. So it's one of those things where my my father was like, no, you need to get an attorney. So thank God he was willing to cover that. But, expenses start coming all of a sudden. That's 10 grand just for the attorney and do all that stuff, right? And so it was a blessing to have support. And I can only imagine for those who don't have that level of support,
no doubt,
the difference it makes, right?
No.
But thank God my dad's always been in my corner for stuff. Even if I didn't ask for it, he would just say, here you go, let's do this, right? And so he jumped on it. And so his mom, my son's mom, had waived away her rights. She had to for me to take him. And so the time he was born, my mom and I was there at Fort Smith General Hospital and was there and took him home. And so that was the first time in Virginia that had happened. So, all these kinds of things were life experiences that changed things. Now, in the midst.
Hold on. I'm sorry. I know that. And I wish that you were here in person, man, because we've been doing it. So what did it change? What did it change? So, because here's what I want to pick up on, Morrice. We know that these are significant circumstances, and and you can call me names, y'all in the chat or whatever. You can say, yo, Salo, slow down or let them talk. I know. But what did it change? Because this is a real conversation. It changed some things, but meanwhile, you were still pursuing the things you wanted. So we talk life-changing moments, but what did it change for you?
Yeah, so it didn't change things for me from a professional academic standpoint. Right. Because I was like, this is all the more reason why I got to do all these things, right? But what it changed for me was a psychological and emotional. And I tell you why. When you're 22, 23, and you're thinking, you're socially at a place where people were calling me to find out what club are we going to this weekend, and all of a sudden I've got a kid at the house and people were calling me like, where are we going? And I couldn't tell them because of where we were going to school. Right. People were calling me to find out if I was going to go out to the club across the street from my apartment. Right. And I would be like, oh, I can't. But I couldn't say why. And they're like, you're always down. What's going on? You know what I mean? And so it was all of a sudden, like socially, I was becoming like absent, yet I was still in the environment, right? And so it was like hiding this thing, this child, right? But yet the one thing that was going to give me that emotional connection and bond, at least so I thought, that I would always want and always have, because I said, no matter what happens to his mom, I got him. Right. Now, other life circumstances happen down the road with family and family involvement. Right. Change that too.
Hold on, but look, because I want to make sure this is clear, because I know, I met your son long ago, that I know he's a grown man now too, and I want to be clear about this. When we take a word like hiding, many kids that have been in situations like this will take that to be like, what was there shame? So unpack that part of it for me a little bit, because I know for a fact it was a shame, but I need you to put it in your words.
Yeah. So I never had any shame about my son. Always been proud of having him and who he is and who he's become. But going to a private Christian school, right, where socially it's so easy to live two lives. Right. Like when I went to University of Nebraska, loved that place. But it didn't matter whether you had a kid or not, or whether you come back at 2 a.m, 3 a.m, like nobody cares. Right. But if you go into a school where there's a curfew, and all this, like you got to function a little differently. Right. And so we, living off campus, having my own place. Right. But in a place where also for our major, where we're talking about clinical mental health and all these kinds of things and transparency and intimacy, and you have the same cohort of students that you go to school with, your private life becomes public.
No doubt.
Okay. Right. And so just as that was happening, my mom was kind of semi-retiring, seeing patients herself. And so she was starting to support me by taking care of my son while I would go to class. And then I would drive up to Charlottesville, back home for the night and spend the night with him. Or if I was really tired, she'd say, son, just stay there and let's pray for the night. Come back and be with the kid tomorrow. But lo and behold, we took our family to Memphis, as my grandmother was having heart valves replaced while my son was being born. So there was no shame in the sense of having him, but just the logistics of now I'm in just finished my first semester of my master's program. Right. So these things were happening, right? So we took my mom to Memphis to visit family. And so my grandmother could have her grandson around and hopefully that helped her feel better. Right. And while we were there, my mom got killed by a hit and run. So now all of a sudden, my support system just shrunk from.
Bro, it didn't just shrink; it just got snatched away. That's different. Shrinking is like it went away, snatched away unexpectedly, and all that in the middle of this.
Yeah. So all of a sudden, I had no paternal support for him from his mom's family. Then I didn't have my own mom supporting me. Then my father is a clinician. He trained under Sigmund Freud and all this stuff, but he's not the kind that's going to change diapers. That's just not what he's going to do.
Right. He's old school dude.
Yeah. He can talk to you about philosophy and all that, but he'll be like, "Oh, here you go." You hand it back to you, right? So all of a sudden, I was like,
"Wow,
this is different," right? So my world was constantly shifting, right?
And look, here's the thing, right? Born, dealing with his sort of two lives that you're living, that you were talking about, the sudden loss, tragic loss of your primary support and your mom, right? The need to sort of walk in these two worlds. Everything was shifting constantly because we know that that's what life does, but trying to find a way to balance the two, if not merge the two, because ultimately I know that that's where your life took you, but it took so many twists and turns, and it took a lot of work in you to allow the two worlds to be merged into one world, right?
Yeah. It took a lot of work. The real work really actually didn't come then, though, and I'll tell you why. I was fortunate to have my grandmother's sister. Has been like a grandmother for me and for a lot of our extended family. And unfortunately, my grandmother wasn't functional after she had those heart procedures, right? And so, she ended up being bedridden. And my great aunt, her sister, had a daughter who was a school principal in Memphis. And that mother-daughter combo was life-saving in a lot of ways because they were like, "Hey, why don't you leave Virginia and just come here? The baby's here." Right. And at first I kind of fought it because I was like, "Nah, I'm in Virginia. Like, I got a job and I don't want to leave that." I was the first African-American guidance director for high school where I was working.
Yep.
And I was like, "I don't want to leave that." Like I was getting a letter from the governor for sending kids to get their associate's degrees before they graduate from high school. I was the first to do that in Virginia.
Yep.
So like I was all these firsts that were happening, positive and challenging. But then when I realized, like, I can't even go to back to school night because I got an infant, because my father's traveling around the world speaking and doing these different things. I'm like, I don't have the resources to have a babysitter and do all this kind of stuff. So I went to Memphis. When I went to Memphis, my family was so loving and supportive that it was too much. And this is where it was almost like the saying about African-American mothers that just take over, right? Yeah. Now, all of a sudden, the one being that I felt I was responsible for that allowed me to have that instant connection, I felt like, again, was snatched away. Yeah. And it wasn't by anything that they were doing that was negative, but just the motherly aspect of things was like, I would go to put him to bed and the family would be like, "Oh, no, let him stay with us." I'm like, so I was like, I'm not really needed. So in the midst of trying to cope with adjusting, living in a city now that I've never lived in before.
Right.
Yeah. Which is, Memphis has a lot of people of color, which I wasn't used to. Not opposed to it, love it, but the culture is different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's, when you go up in Central Virginia and you can be, going through grad school and like two people look like you, you function a certain way. Absolutely. Now you don't have to function a certain way, but there's codes and ways that people
you're constantly noticing that every time we try to settle into a groove, and because this is a human nature, this is just by human nature, we try to settle into a groove that we know and normalize. And we can't, because it's constantly shifting. See, your world is constantly shifting.
Always.
I'm gonna ask you this, Morrice, because this is crazy, and it's wild that we've been riding together for so long, and being able to just hear the richness, the honesty in your sharing is huge for me. Life Change Lounge, we're halfway through. We're still going. We welcome questions and comments, because I want you to really understand who Morrice is and what we're doing here. The goal of this is not to promote the adversity, not to promote that, but to show the shifts and stuff. I'm going to ask you a real direct question. You can cuss me out later. Y'all can cuss me out later too.
Okay.
Living two lives, so to speak, living two tandem lives, living this sort of reality that is your reality, with the losses, with the addition, all those sort of things, and then trying to kind of pursue a sort of, Morrice has always been a professional. Let me tell you, this dude is not gangster. Dude don't even try to be gangster, right? He's a professional through and through. But there's almost a question that could come up. Was it fronting? Which one was the real you, right? Because you have these two lives, and then almost like one side of one group of people could say, "Yo, you were fronting the whole time." The other side could say, "Yo, you fronting over here."
Yeah.
What do you say to that? Because you know that there's other people that deal with this.
Yeah, it wasn't front. The two lives speaks to one doing what I was supposed to do, right? The other
Right.
side was what I wanted to experience because I kind of grew up sheltered, so if a person looks at my actual childhood, the day-to-day experiences, I came from a household of professionals where they said you work before you play. Now, the reality is that sounds good, and it is good.
Yeah.
But when you go from, kindergarten or whatever else, you're getting promoted grades, but socially you want to know what it's like to go to a party, but you
Right.
can't because you got to be home at 9 o'clock. Like, it's a different kind of thing, right? And so when I got to college, it wasn't like I just went wild, right? But the thing was, me going to college was because I was expected to. And I said, well,
Right.
if I'm expected to, I might as well enjoy it. Right?
Yo, and I remember joking back in the day because we were always like, yo, Morrice is held to a higher standard. Like, you wasn't even, we knew the standard that the family had put on you.
Yeah. But the thing was, and I'm thankful for it, because when I look at my life now compared to some of those that I was around growing up, the choices have led me down a different path. Not as if they haven't done well for themselves, but there's a sense of peace and a sense of purpose that I'm able to fulfill for myself. So living the two lives, getting to Memphis, with family taking over, even when I didn't really want them to. And it was hard to say no because I felt like they were also helping me out. So here I am feeling like I'm indebted to this family. And it was also a replacement for my mom that they were spending the time with this kid. He became the family kid. I then had to cope. And that's where the problems came in, because my coping was, all right, well, I might as well go out to Beale Street and hang out and get to know people in the community if I'm going to have to be here. Right. And I would try to go back to Virginia every other week. I would literally drive 11 hours to go back just to spend time with my dad, because now my dad is now a widower. Right. You know what I mean? So I'm spending time with him for like 2 days, and I would drive back to Memphis. And sometimes I would take my son and sometimes I wouldn't. So, that lifestyle then starts to unravel. Right. And so I would party and hang out, but then I would be at work at 8 o'clock in the morning. Right. So I was doing these things. And if I had my son, I was on track. If I didn't have my son, I was out to 2 or 3. So it was like always doing these two things. And so at some point that catches up with you, right? And so the real challenge then came when, I was at a school. I'd been promoted to a district administrator. So Memphis has about, roughly about 117,000 kids. And I was promoted. I was one of 5 to then run a section of the district. So I had to analyze all the behavior that was going on, gang fights, all these things. So now all of a sudden, I would have kids that I would talk to about getting bank accounts, and I would go to the school the next day to visit, and the kid was laying down shot dead on the street. And so all of a sudden now I'm experiencing all this trauma that's happening. So I had trauma in my personal life, trauma at work. Now my blood pressure is out of whack. And so when I go to the doctor says, you need to have your blood pressure checked. They say you should go to see a doctor. I've never had to go see a doctor. I was playing sports and all these things. So all of a sudden they put me on a blood pressure medication because they said, well, let's be preventative. Several years later, fast forward, I get a chance to go back home to Virginia for an internship for grad school. And I'm like, I'm going to be in a less stressful environment. There's no gang fights. I'm not having to break anything up. Like I'm away from my family, so to speak, even though I love them. I've got some distance. I'm changing my habits. I'm not drinking, hanging out like that. Just focusing on my work, getting back to grad school. All of a sudden they say the medication's killing your kidneys. And so
that's where I knew it would come up, because here's the thing, man. I hear this a lot working in recovery. I've been doing recovery for a minute. You've been working in this field. When we finally decide to get our act together, when we finally decide to let the two worlds merge and become one, right? And we let go of some former things, right? Scripture talks about that and all that. The assumption is, now that I got my crap together, now it's going to start falling in line. And right when you go there, Morrice, you go to the doctor and they're like, yo, it's killing your kidneys.
Yeah, and it was a shocker, because now not only was I getting work lined up because I had started my doctoral program, I'm getting everything going at that time. My wife and I had just started dating. Come to find out, she was going to come back from England to Virginia. So we were both going to live there and kind of get our lives going and see where it was going to take us. So I felt like everything was coming together, right? And then all of a sudden the rug is like pulled out, and I'm like, so what does this mean?
Right.
You know what I mean?
What now?
Yeah, and I remember driving from the doctor's office back to one of the schools where I was working, and I just start cracking like, what is happening? My body has always been invincible. If I wanted to go run a half marathon, I would just go run it.
Right.
Like I was in decent shape to go do those kinds of things.
Okay.
And now all of a sudden you're talking about like kidneys failing, like, and I'm like, is this permanent? Is this not? Like,
Right.
and I wasn't knowledgeable about it.
Yeah.
But I tell you, the blessing is the good Lord has a way of, one of my favorite songs is Gracefully Broken.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the most powerful things to experience is when you go through hell, because I always say either going into a storm, going through a storm, or coming out of it.
Right.
One of the most powerful things I think is when you go into the storm, but you have everybody and everything you need while you're getting through it. And a lot of times we don't always realize it, right? And so come to find out, my now wife, but at the time girlfriend, her father was a physician. Come to find out he's one of the top physicians in the region for integrative medicine.
Right.
And so he would say, hey, go talk to this guy. And
Right.
he would then check me out and say, hey, well, your kidney function's stable. So you got a job offer in LA, go for it.
Right.
Right. So I did. Right. But once I got here, things were good. And then crisis happens again. The job's pulled out from under me.
Yep.
We hired you, but you had the wrong major.
Yep.
Like you had a master's in counseling, but your master's in counseling is a different specialization from the one we were trying to hire.
Yep.
So now I'm driving Uber at night, working at a substance use clinic overnight. I was working like literally 3 jobs.
Yep.
And I'm sure that didn't help the kidney function.
I know that. And what's funny, Morrice, is that you were doing that on the West and getting settled there, and at the same time, right? Because that's part of my own story. I remember going through, all of my losses, all of my challenges, my traumas, and driving Uber at night, selling, household furniture, and trying to make life connect and trying to figure this thing out again and get whatever looks like right again, right?
Yeah. So I mean, people see you in a suit and tie, and there were times when I would come to the clinic here, and I would see maybe like 3 people because I was new, and you're trying to build that relationship and see where it's going to go. And I really started off as a volunteer. I've been selling life insurance, all this stuff while I was trying to find another job, and so I would drive Uber on the way home, and people would say, "You're wearing a suit, driving an Uber? Like, what else do you do?"
Yeah.
But the blessing, even then, my networking. LA is the 2nd largest city in the country. I can't tell you how well I know the city for somebody who didn't grow up here, right?
Bro, you are the networking fiend. Let me just tell you, like, if me and you was on the same coast, and we're gonna take this national and international, but you are a networking son of a.
Well, it's just a blessing to be able to talk and listen to other people. And like I said, everybody's got a story. I like learning about other people's stories. Right. But in the process of trying to make it, I end up meeting Magic Johnson and all these people who end up kind of mentoring me even from a distance, even though they didn't know all of what I was going through. Right. And my son. Hold
on, pause. When you're meeting, so now you're out West, now you got life going, you got kidneys failing, you got a son that's grown, you got a new wife, you got all these things, and you're meeting these you're rubbing elbows, rubbing shoulders with these sort of A-list sort of peoples and names. Is there a need to sort of live 2 lives again? Right? Was there a risk, Morrice, of branching out and doing 2 different lives again or not? How did you keep the worlds together? Because I know you're a real dude and I know you're an honest dude. Yeah. But there's almost a shame or a quietness that says, no, don't tell them about this part.
Yeah, no. There was no desire to even live the 2 lives, only because by the time I was ready to come here, I was like, this is where I want to be. I'm gonna make it. I'm not gonna have anything that's gonna come up in my way to make this, fall apart. And even before I had left Memphis, there was one day where I was trying to figure things out, and I was like, "This is not what I want for myself." Right. I was like, because I always associated the city of Memphis with trauma, because my mom had been killed there. I've been seeing it in schools literally every day. Your job is based on how much reduction of violence you can create. We got a Bill and Melinda Gates grant from the work that my team we were doing, which was awesome. But that just tells you how much stuff we were having to get rid of that was in our community.
Right, how bad it actually was. Right.
Yeah, and so I sat down on the side of my bed one day and I said, Lord, take this desire for me to kind of be in the midst of like partying, because that was my release. Like when you've got gang violence going on in the day, and I remember going to a school called Wooddale High School, and the great staff, but the kids are just coming from all different backgrounds, right? Right. And there was a a bomb threat that went off. We have the SWAT team people coming in because the school system had its own SWAT team. They come in and I would work with them. And I remember a pregnant girl standing on top of a desk. She's like, fight, get out, all these things. And I'm like, get down, girl, get down. And I go home and I was like, I need a margarita. Like, I need something to calm, and I was like, I don't want to live with that kind of pressure where I have to feel like I got to do something or find something to calm me down. Like, this is not what I went to school for. Right. And so when I asked the Lord to take this desire away from me, I had to put something else in its place. And I knew that. That something else for me was moving out of that area, living somewhere else.
Right.
So
here's the thing. When we remove something damaging or healthy or not, when there's a void that's left there. It's funny. I was just talking to somebody about that yesterday. There's something that's removed and there's a void, and there's instantly a need to refill that space, right? There's an old saying, there's a hole in kids' souls the size of their dad, and there's a loss that we experience, and there's this constant need to fill that space to keep things moving, even if the piece doesn't fit, but there's a constant need to fill it with something. Now we can be mature about it, like you're approaching now and saying, yo, I'm going to fill it intentionally with something healthy rather than filling it with garbage. Yeah. Well, I mean,
on when I was younger, coming from the college part, it was garbage because it was socially what I had accessibility to. Right. As I was in Memphis, I just bought my first house, bought it myself, didn't have help buying and all this stuff. So I felt like, hey, I'm empowered. I was working with Homeland Security as a voluntary instructor. Like I was doing personal training, running a business, running stuff with Memphis City schools, taking care of my son most of the time, and if he wasn't hanging out with family, I was like, I'm living, I was like, but I'm not. But I wasn't happy. Right. And
it wasn't complete. It wasn't really. It was like, and not even just surfacey or superficial, Morrice. It was not complete.
Yeah, it wasn't complete, and so I was like, I got to get to where I really want to be. Right. And so even if going back to Virginia for a year or so before moving out to California was what I was going to do, I was going to do it. And so I said, I got to fill my time doing something. What I realized was wanting love and connection came through in a social way on the front end from like 18 to 25, right? By the time I was 27 and in Memphis and trying to do these things, it became financial because I figured if I had the finances, I could get out of here. Right. And if I had the finances, I could take my son and we could travel, we could do other stuff. Right. And so then the hustle came. So then I was like, all right, well, look, what else can I do? So, I spent time going to church, but I would be hanging out till 2 and then taking family members to church. And, that's when I had the experience of sitting in church the weekend between Christmas and New Year's. And the pastor saying, most of you guys are going to come up with these New Year's resolutions. You're going to be in the exact same place you're in this time next year. And I'm like, I'm volunteering in Homeland Security. I'm a single dad. I got my own house that I bought. I got my own car. Like, I'm not really doing badly. What you talking about?
Right.
And I thought people just need to have a way of cleaning themselves up so that they can do better and be focused on something that they want.
Look, let me ask you this though, because you've said a few times, right, the things that I want and pursuing what I want. But I also know from a faith standpoint, but even if for those who may not have the faith component to it, but there's a pursuing of what you want, but there's a pursuing what you're made for. Because sometimes what we pursue, and when we pursue what we want, seemingly what we want, listen, I wasn't supposed to do this. I went to school as an electrical engineer. Then I went to school for psychology and all that, and was trying to be a school social worker. Clearly, I'm not in the school. What I thought I wanted was not what I was called to. And so there's a difference. How did you merge the two of what I thought I wanted, or I want, versus what I'm made for, what I'm meant to be, what I'm meant to be, what I'm meant to be?
So it was odd because, when I went to Nebraska, I went to Nebraska as a music major. And when I left there, I had just switched to psychology and I was like trying to play ball and stuff. And I was like, you know what? I don't really want to do music full time every day, like practicing piano for 6 hours. Like, this ain't me. Like, they're taking the fun out of it. So when I transferred to Liberty in Virginia, I said, you know what? Let me study exercise sciences and psychology. So I always wanted to help people, and I knew that. I knew that was in me to help people, right? And so what I didn't know was whether or not it was going to be in physical therapy or be a physician. And so when I went out to Memphis, I was at the odd spot of like, okay, well, I pretty much have finished a master's in counseling, but I don't know if I'm going to go do physical therapy, get a doctorate in it or not. And I've always done personal training and counseling. And it wasn't until I was working with this beautiful young lady from New Hampshire. She'd been playing lacrosse and stuff, and she was new to Memphis, but she was engaged. And I'd worked with her, and she got pregnant.
Mm.
Lo and behold, I had 4 other clients that got pregnant at the same time. And guys were like, "You knocking these girls up? What you doing?"
Yeah.
And I was like,
bro, that's a bad look.
and I was like, no, I'm just training them, and they all seem to be enjoying life. And I realized as I was working with them, their lives were getting better. And this young lady says to me, "Hey, I got something to tell you." And I said, what is it? And I'm thinking, now imposter syndrome, like, did I say something wrong? Did I hurt her with the last session or something? And, you know, physically. And so she says, since you're my trainer, there's something I got to tell you. She said, I'm pregnant. I said, great. What's your fiance say? What did he say? So I haven't told him yet. And I realized the level of intimacy that someone could tell me something before they could even tell their partner. And I was like, that's the connection I'm looking for.
Boom. Yo, so look, now you got me all hyped. We seek so constantly this sort of level of intimacy, and we think we're going to get it from a certain source, but that's in this work that you and I do, in this work that many of us do from a clinical standpoint, but even in a lot of the work that we do, we found intimacy in some of the places we never even thought we were going to find.
Exactly. Right? I never expected it to happen there. And the problem, part of the reason why I had left Virginia was because I was, working in schools, and families would invite me over for dinner. And I was like, I'm not supposed to be here, but they're inviting me in and all this stuff. And so it looks a certain kind of way, and so you realize, that ain't a good look. So when I was in Memphis and I was trying to figure things out, and this organically just happened, I was like, I want to do psychology. And, having a mother my mom was one of the first music therapists in the country. So I realized she integrated music into her passion. I said, well, I'm doing personal training. Maybe I can incorporate fitness into therapy, right? And so my goal then was to kind of merge exercise and the use of exercise in with therapy. So it's quite common for me to walk with patients now and have that level of intimacy and talk with them. And it's been a beautiful experience.
Yo, let me tell you this, because that's just what I was thinking. Shout out to Eric Thomas, because he don't know me yet, but he will one day. He's gonna know me. But I know that he says often, right? Your gift will make room for you, right? He speaks about that a lot. We talk about scripture all the time, right? We look at the giftednesses we have. We look at the joys, the pleasures, right? The talents we have. We look about the passions, and we look where life has put us and what God has called us to do, or what you're called to, and you see the room that it makes for you and being able to merge it seamlessly. All this time, Morrice, that you were trying to force the sort of 2 identities, and then life just kept hitting you for a purpose, for a reason. Not recognizing that you finally had to bring your gift into that life to let it make room for you to do what you're meant to, right?
Yeah. There's a saying: your passion is for you, your purpose is for others, right? And I literally had both by having the psychology stuff that I was doing and the fitness stuff, right? Because the passion was sports and movement and all that kind of stuff. The sense of purpose was helping other people. Right. So it didn't matter whether I was volunteering in Homeland Security, like doing disaster training with people, or helping kids trying to figure out how to get a job, which really wasn't part of the work, but I was doing it. I had fun doing both, but I needed a way to merge them and to feel like life was moving forward. And so the best gift I have, and the best gift I could really encourage anyone to do, is to figure out how to get your passion and your purpose to be in alignment.
Right. Absolutely. Yo, so look, hold on. So I'm gonna pause you real quick just to let you know, man, we're flowing. We can do this for hours, and bro, I can go all night. And we've been doing
it's all good either way.
Life Change Lounge, sitting here on Facebook Live. We need some questions, some answers, or some comments. We welcome them from the West Coast and the East Coast. And we want to really hear how that impacts you and what you have, because we don't have all the answers, but we are just 2 dudes living this out. Question that I have for you, Morrice, is this. You look at the ups and the downs and the challenges. You look at the adversity and this pursuit of, having those 2 lives sort of come together. What now, right? And so it's not a scripted question. I don't want to go yet to the scripted finishing up, but I know that we don't have a lot of time left. I want to hear what now. So all of that to say, because there's clearly more to your life. We can't pack your life into an hour.
Yeah.
But what does that all mean now? Because you have a son that you model. We could talk manhood, we could talk minority manhood, Black man, role model, and those sort of things. You have a daughter, you have a wife, you're on the West, you've been through everything. What now? What does that all mean now?
So what it means now is I get the beautiful opportunity to wrap the trauma into a gift that I can share with others. And the way that I first noticed it coming out, even back when I was driving Uber for like 5 years at night, or I'd leave the clinic here at the end of the day and I would drive people home, and they would look at my profile and realize I was a therapist. You know, picking up young ladies who've just been sexually assaulted at 2 o'clock in the morning. You know, like, most people are not trained for that.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I don't know any drivers typically that are just, you know, say, I'm going to go do sexual assault training and then go drive Uber until I find. Like, it just doesn't work out that way. Right.
That's not usually how the story goes.
That's not how it goes. Right. And so, but to be in a city like LA, where you literally see everything, you name it, I feel like I've seen it, especially between here and Memphis and Virginia. But being in the car and being able to pick up young ladies that's happened to, or being able to pick people up and they're going to propose, and I can share what it's like to be married and these kinds of things. It's evolved into the ability, like I said, to share these experiences with them and help them to prepare for themselves.
Yeah. And what's funny, here's what's funny, Morrice, is that because we've always known you've always been a refined individual, and you've had some of the taste of the things of life, right? We could talk about you being in LA. We could talk about you rubbing elbows with celebrities. We could talk about you, you know, from Beamers to houses to whatever. We could talk about soccer. We could talk about all these sort of things. Isn't it interesting how, from the gift in this part and the seamless and allowing life to do what it do, God to do what he does, it's almost in these sort of common or less renowned sort of places, like driving a car, being somewhere trying to just natural. You don't have to have this sort of high end, this and that. It's great. I love that you're doing your work and your passion out there, but it's not necessary. You're talking about people in real life, sort of rough situations, and it wasn't in these high end places all the time.
Yeah, it's not. And the reality is, even though I'm around those people, I don't live the way that they do. You know what I mean? So I've seen some of it just from how I grew up, but it wasn't my day-to-day life, right? And so I can appreciate the lifestyle they have, but it's not mine. So when they get a chance to be around a normal cat like me, who's just working a job, who's you know, not into stuff, who's not a threat to them in any sort of way, who's not asking them for anything, you know, it creates a different type of relationship, and again, one that's special, right? And so when you ask like what now, right? That time that I was sitting on the edge of my bed in Memphis and asking the Lord to take away this drive for me to be so social and all these other things away, you know, in my mind, I had developed a product. It was a body wash to figure out, like, how can I share a story or a message with people so that they want to, like, it's not that you have to, like, all of a sudden make one decision and from that moment, the rest of your life is just perfect. Because that's, even though we have these major life changes, you have patterns of functioning that take a while to shift. Right. So I created a body wash, but I wasn't ready to do anything with it yet.
Which is crazy because, bro, let me just tell you, I'm like, what? A body wash? Like soccer, therapy, body wash, right? And but it's again this passion, this sort of
and so I think when I was coming up with it, the idea was for other people, but it was really for me on the front end, right? But now that my life has evolved, and one of the things that I'm just so thankful for is I'm blessed to have a wife who's super supportive, and one who's actually Kobe's known me since the 5th grade, so that there's some comfort that comes in there too, you know. But she's embraced me and given me the green light to say, you know, love, do what you want to do, just follow through with it, right? And so now I'm at a place where I can share these things with other people and get them to have a day-to-day product that they use, that they read through, and it forces them to think about changes in their life. So when you ask where are things going, I couldn't have planned any of this, right? But the reality is, it's still unfolding. It's not perfect. My relationship with my son is pretty good most days, but then he has his
but
own.
It's a real father-son relationship.
Yeah, he has his own adjustments too, which I'm sure there's some resentments about. But you know, we try to work through them, and usually things are either really good or distant, really good.
What your life has shown you, Morrice, is that you couldn't have planned it. You wouldn't have scripted the twists and turns. You know that they were, you know, and scripture talks about it a lot in terms of being able to be thankful for, right? Like thankful for all the bumps and the bruises and those sort of things. You wouldn't have scripted it, but knowing that you can't plan even what's going ahead, you have a vision, you have a purpose, you're going after something. But you're not going to be so set on knowing that that it could still take some more twists and turns, but you're going to be all right.
Yeah, I know I'm going to be all right because, you know, I've always been blessed to be able to lean on my faith. And, you know, there's a saying, delight thyself also in the Lord, he'll give you the desires of your heart, right? And I lived by that, like when I wanted something, right? When I wanted to get something, I would be like, all right, Psalms 37 verse 4, like, let me go after what I want. God's gonna give it to me, right? But the reality was, you know, many times we're given things and it's kind of like the good Lord says, okay, well, you got what you want, now handle it, right? You know, and so in the process of, and so in the process of trying to handle it, you know, I got a hole in my stomach. I got dialysis I do every night. So you ask me where are things going. Now, I can't tell you what life is going to look like 10 years from now, but I can tell you what I intend.
Right, exactly. Right? Now, again, here's the thing, Morrice. Now, again, it's merging the two. Here's what I intend. Here's what I would love it to do, but I know life is going to bring what it brings. I will continue to make the two become one in that sort of passion. All right, so look, let me wrap this up because I want to do two things. One, I'm so mad that we're only keeping this to an hour. Note to my crew, we may have to make this longer. I don't know, part 1, part 2, part 8.
We can always do part 2. It's all good.
Bro, we're gonna do that. Here's the two things that I want to do. One is the last scripted because I don't want to run out of time. Okay. 3 things really now. I just keep adding. 1 is the last scripted. 2 is the shameless plugs that I know that you have because you're doing big things. And 3 is to be able to answer any of the questions that may be coming through. So if y'all are tuning in, we've got Morrice Apprey here, West Coast extraordinaire, while we got Life Change on the East Coast extraordinaire here. And we've just got questions. We're talking to a real dude. Scripted questions and shameless plugs while we look for questions. To me, like to you, to Morrice, to define life change. To me, life change means blank.
To me, life change means having a state of kind of like repentance, if you will. So changing thought followed by changing behavior. You know, and I always tell people, and I think we were trained this way too, that we don't want behavior change, we want heart change. Right. You know, and so when we see behavior change, it's like, okay, well, don't drink during the week, just drink on the weekends, kind of thing, right? Whereas if you say, you know what, don't drink because you want to extend your health so that you can be around with your family, then doesn't matter what day it is at that point, now because now the purpose is there.
You're saying you can't have real life change without real heart change.
It's got to, because the heart being in it, I think for me involves a sense of purpose. Right. And so your purpose for me gives you a sense of motive for why you should do something, because motivation is going to come and go. Right. And so as the motivation comes and goes, you'll think about doing this, think about doing this, think about doing that. Right. But as the sense of purpose is there, it says, I got an undying reason why I've got to continue going on this direction no matter what happens, whether it's the hole in the stomach, whether it's wife,
whether it's one kidney or not. Right.
There's one kidney, like, you know, like regardless of the circumstances, we ride until the wheels go, you know, that's all we can do, right? You know, so life change means having a change of thought and a change of action, right? Really following through.
Right, it's a shift of the mindset, it's a shift of those things. So then let me ask you this, how do you apply that now, right? I know we said where's like going, what do you want now? It's not what I'm asking. This is the shameless plug part, right? Because I want to hear what you're doing. Here's what we do. If we focus so much on the adversity, we focus so much on the things that build, we want to see fruit. We want to see that was meant, it served the purpose, and this is the fruit. And we know that we ain't done yet. We know we're still young, right? Your kidneyless butt is still going to keep going and grinding until the wheels fall off. What does that look like now for Morrice Apprey? What does that look like in general? What are you doing? What are the plugs? What are the things? How can people connect to you? All of that. Give me all of it.
Yeah. So, I mean, when you ask, you know, what am I doing, right? So one of the things that I always try to do is I try to implement a gentle strategy, right? And that strategy—
I do too, man. I mean, that's what I'm known for, is gentle.
Yeah. But I mean, when I say gentle, it's because it's not new, right? The idea is not new. But what I'm driving my mission on as far as helping people to change their lives is to have an integration of 3 things, okay? Is it okay to share my screen with you for a second?
Please do. Listen, this is your time. I want you to shine, so.
Okay, I think it says disabled participant sharing at the moment.
Oh, my bad, man.
It's all good. It's all good.
Listen, here's what we're gonna do. We'll post it. We'll post it to our pages.
Okay. Yeah, it's all good. Okay. So the general idea is this. You know, in psychology, you know, we say the 3 parts to every person, right? There's the cognitive, affective, and physiological, right? Your thoughts, your feelings, and your physical body.
Right.
What I do every morning, or at least throughout each day at some point, but typically every morning before I come to work, I do one activity in each space. And I get all my patients to do the same thing. do something for their thinking, right? Whether it's reading an article about something they're interested in, whether it's strategies on how to buy a house, whether it's something that they're dealing with health-wise, whatever it is, right? Something that's interesting to them. So something for their mind. And something for their physical body. So I go lift weights and exercise every day. My doctors see my blood work and they're like, you're our special patient. Like, we can't believe your lab work is what it is, right? Now, in my mind, I'm doing what I've always been doing, but it's now purposeful. It's to live and be around for my family, right? So I say, do something for your thinking, do something for your physical body, and then do something for your emotionality. So every morning I listen to either a spiritual message or read a Bible verse or listen to something that's going to be uplifting. It can be from a shaman or whoever, but just something that's going to be uplifting. And so my passion is really now helping people to implement those things so that they have the strength to endure whatever they're going through and accomplish whatever their dreams are. So that's what I'm all about right now. And so I'm developing the body wash for the sake of helping people to generate the thinking of how to change their lives. But then in practice, I'm working with people to do this. K Development, I'm gonna do some consulting. As
shout out to K Development. Y'all need to hit that up.
Yeah, so when it comes to doing corporate consulting and those kinds of things, or coaching for people, on a personal level or corporate level, we can do that, right? So everything I'm about right now is helping people to implement those three things into their daily life or into their business, whatever it is that they're doing. That's what I'm about.
Yo, how do they get in touch with you? How do they find you?
So they can find me, Skilled Dr. Morrice Apprey on Instagram. If you type in Skilled Dr. Morrice, you'll see it come up. You can also find me on LinkedIn. I'm heavy on LinkedIn and those kinds of things for work purposes. But I have patients, past students, all kinds of people that keep up with me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, you name it. I'm also accessible at kdevelopmentinc@gmail.com. That is another way to reach out to me. And of course, through you, if you're up for it, you can always reach out that way too.
I want my crew out here on the East. I want anybody who's associated with me to know that you can get to Morrice by coming through me. There ain't no shame in that. Like, I ain't gonna get my feelings hurt. I got therapy for a reason.
Look,
go talk to him.
I'm all about us networking and building supports for people together. If people have questions about life and they want to get a second opinion, I'm up for it. You can also reach me at Southern California Neuropsychology Group. You can go online and see us there, and I'm there too.
Shout out. No doubt. Listen, here's what's funny, Morrice. Again, like full circle, we talk in this conversation. What we thought in 97, 98, those years together, that we would be also building two young minority-owned businesses, Black-owned businesses that are meant to transform people's lives, life changes to two, right? To be able to do this sort of growth and personal, emotional, and spiritual development that you do in K Development, to take people to where they were meant to be. Bro, it wouldn't have been scripted any better if we won. I guarantee you, we would have jacked it all up if we tried to do this story.
Hey, all I know is Dr. Captain and Dr. Anderson, all of them will be proud, man. That's all I know.
I'm telling you, and here's the funnier part. I bet you they didn't even think they could have been proud of us. I know they just thought that about me.
They might have thought about you, but not me.
They always knew you was going to shine. I can promise you they didn't think that from me.
I was more into the ladies we had in class at the time, but I'm thankful.
I'm just saying, it's a beautiful thing. It's so much fun, Morrice, to talk about K Development, to talk about your journey while it's a struggle and it's real and there's empathy, there's a soft spot there and it's a heartfelt thing, but knowing that it meant to build development, meant to build growth. Life Change does that as well. I want people to, if I can't be the one, if the people I'm associated with can't be, right, then go to K Development, go somewhere.
Same here.
Our goal is to be able to build people and to strengthen them and just be able to bring about healing, bring about change.
Got it. Got it.
Man, that's beautiful. Here's what I want, man. We're wrapped up. This is crazy that time flies when you're having fun.
It goes quickly.
I want comments on here on the Facebook page. We're going to share it over on Morrice's Facebook as well. We're going to have snippets all over. We're going to have it on YouTube. We'll share it on his YouTubes as well. Bring us the questions and comments because not a lot of people can watch it now. We get it, right? It's a little earlier out there out west.
If people here are still getting off work,
yeah, it's that's why y'all don't do it right. I mean, we're already we got it done. But I want you to reach out. And Morrice, listen, from the bottom of my heart, homeboy, you're my brother. And I want this to be really caught to know, man, there's a heartfelt sort of connection and intimacy that you constantly long for. That let me be real, I've longed for, that many people do. That I feel with you even before we started doing the business part of things. That I knew that was a realness to you, and that intimacy has been the whole time, brother. And you know, for you and me and our whole crew, because y'all know who you are, right? We had more intimacy than you ever realized. And we never really thought we would have had it, but there's more intimacy there than you ever thought. Doesn't mean that we don't stop looking for that in all the relationships we have, but brother, you're in my heart. And
same here, brother. Same here. Same here. Same here. Same here. I appreciate you having me on today, man.
Man, thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy. Be blessed. For everybody that was checking us out, that's Life Change Lounge. It's a wrap.
Life Change. Appreciate you.
No doubt, brother. Let's get out of here. Peace.
Peace.